For much of our lives, success is something handed to us. It's shaped by culture, family expectations, professional achievements, and the approval we receive from others. However, there comes a moment in a woman's life when those definitions stop fitting. In today's episode of Becoming Conversations in Elegance and Empowerment, we're exploring what it means to become a woman who defines success for herself, not as rebellion, but as evolution. This is a conversation about how success changes as women grow, why outgrowing old definitions is not failure, and how wisdom, peace, and self-trust quietly become markers of a life well lived. If you've ever looked successful on paper but felt misaligned on the inside, this episode is for you.
Becoming the magnificent me, empowered, strong, and gracefully, with poise and elegance, I can see I am who I was born to be.
Welcome to Becoming Conversations in Elegance and Empowerment, a sanctuary for women who desire to live with purpose, grace, and quiet confidence. I'm Senée Luchsinger, your host, author, and transformation guide. Gentlemen are welcome to listen in, but this space is intentionally crafted for the elegant woman becoming all she's meant to be. If this conversation resonates and you'd like focused private support, I invite you to explore private coaching. You can find more information anytime at becomingpublishing.com. Now, let's step into today's topic. There is a version of success most women learn early. It's measurable, it's visible, it's rewarded. For a while, it works. We strive, we achieve, we prove, we accumulate. However, somewhere along the way, often quietly, that definition begins to feel incomplete. Not wrong, just no longer enough. Early success is usually borrowed. It's shaped by expectation, comparison, praise, survival, belonging. For many women, success begins as safety, approval, stability, validation. There's nothing shameful about that. Those definitions often help us build our lives, but they are not meant to be permanent. One of the most confusing experiences for women is this. You're doing well, you're accomplished, you're respected, and yet something inside you feels restless. Not dissatisfied, not ungrateful, just unfinished. I've experienced this many times in my life, even recently. I achieved a goal. I was rewarded by credible organizations. I should have felt like I was on top of the world and had made it, but ridicule and envious voices from other women and my own feelings of not being good enough or deserving of such honors caused me to feel like it never even happened, like I never achieved what so many never could or have. I was recognized as a success on the outside, but I felt less than. The surprising thing that can be hard to realize is that discomfort is not failure. It isn't ingratitude. It isn't self-sabotage. It's evolution asking for a voice. As women mature, success often becomes quieter and stops being loud. It begins to look less like visibility, applause, productivity, and more like peace, discernment, agency, emotional safety, alignment. This is where many women get lost because the world doesn't often celebrate this version of success, but your nervous system does. You can redefine success for yourself without burning everything down. Defining success on your own terms does not require rejecting your past. It requires integrating it. You don't erase who you were. You honor her for getting you to this current place. Then you ask a new question. What actually nourishes me now? Not what impresses, not what performs, not what proves. You seek to find out what sustains. There are markers of a self-defined life. When a woman defines success for herself, certain things shift. She values peace as much as progress. She chooses clarity over chaos. She protects her energy without apology. She measures growth internally, not publicly. Her life may look simpler, but it feels richer. In March, we've been celebrating Women's History Month, often focused on what women have fought for. But women's history is not just about the past. That honoring of the past matters because it's important to remember that history is not only something behind us, it's something we're actively writing. Every time a woman chooses alignment over approval, rest over overexertion, truth over performance, she contributes to a quieter, deeper legacy. I invite you to stay with me, and next I'll explain the science behind the theory. If this conversation is resonating and you recognize yourself in what we're discussing, I invite you to apply for private coaching. I work privately with a small number of women each season who are ready to rebuild confidence, strengthen emotional boundaries, and make clear decisions in life and love. This is structured, focused work, not surface motivation. If you're navigating heartbreak or life transitions and you want grounded private support, you can apply at becomingpublishing.com. I personally review every application. I greatly admire women who have achieved great things in business and have made the path look achievable for the rest of us. What fascinates me about many successful women is not just what they achieve, but when they achieved it. Louise Hay founded Hay House Publishing at age 58. Vera Wang became a fashion designer at age 40. Arianna Huffington launched the Huffington Post at age 55. Coco Seale transformed women's fashion after a childhood spent in poverty and an orphanage. She opened her first hat shop around age 27 and revolutionized women's fashion a decade later. Her legacy lives on today through her fashion brand. These women are proof that success has no expiration dates. They were not following someone else's timeline. They were defining success on their own terms. Research shows that these successful women and their many counterparts that I haven't named all have traits in common. In a 2000 article in Psychological Inquiry, psychologists Edward Deci and Richard Ryan found that people thrive when their goals align with three internal drivers: autonomy, competence, and connection. In other words, sustainable success isn't imposed from the outside. It grows from internal alignment, which is what I'm often referring to as the kingdom within. Success doesn't have just one definition or set of standards. Women tend to define success differently than men. Research published in Harvard Business Review in 2013 found that women were more likely to emphasize meaningful work, relationships, contribution, balance, and purpose, emphasizing that women often define success not just through status or income. Psychologist Carrie Riff's research on psychological well-being, published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, showed that flourishing adults often define success through autonomy, personal growth, purpose, and meaningful relationships, rather than external achievement alone. All of this evidence points to what I have been saying all along. You are so powerful. You can not only recreate yourself many times in life, but you can also redefine what success looks like for you. If this conversation is resonating with you and you're noticing something shifting inside your own life or relationships, that moment deserves attention. You may be rethinking a long-held definition of success. There are seasons when we can feel that change happening internally, but it's difficult to sort through it alone. If you've been listening quietly and thinking, I wish I could talk this through with Senée, the Clarity Reset is the place to start, and it's exactly why I created it. The Clarity Reset is a private focused coaching session designed for moments when you need a thoughtful place to step back and see your situation more clearly. Together, we look at what's happening in your life right now, the relationship patterns, pressures, decisions, or emotional weight you may be carrying, and we work toward clear insight about your next step. Many women come into a Clarity Reset session feeling overwhelmed or uncertain and leave with a clear understanding of what they want and how to move forward. The Clarity Reset can be scheduled immediately and does not require an application. If you feel ready to explore your next chapter with intention, you can schedule your session anytime at becomingpublishing.com. While this concept may sound simple, it can feel overwhelming to put into practice. I invite you to stay with me, and next I'll give you some insight on how to define what success looks like in your own life. Many of the ideas we're exploring this season are expanded on in my newest book, Becoming Lavishly Loving, available on Spotify, my website, and most online booksellers. It explores intuition, emotional boundaries, and protecting your inner world with elegance. For women who are ready to apply this work in real time, not just understand it intellectually, I offer a private 3-month coaching container where we rebuild confidence and clarity from the inside out. You can learn more and apply at becomingpublishing.com. Becoming a woman who defines success for herself is not a declaration, it's a practice. It's listening more closely, choosing more carefully, and allowing your life to reflect who you actually are, not who you were once rewarded for being. Here's how you can start redefining your own success in practice. 1. Notice your inherited definition. Ask yourself, who taught me what success looks like? Family, culture, profession? 2. Identify what no longer fits. What parts of that definition feel misaligned now? Achievement, busyness, approval? 3. Define your internal markers. What would success feel like inside your life? Peace, clarity, freedom, creativity, meaningful work? 4. Redesign your measurements. Instead of asking, did I impress other people? I encourage you to ask, did I live in alignment today? 5. Protect the life you're building. Self-defined success requires boundaries because the world will often try to return you to the version of success it understands. It's important to make sure your castle walls are secure, meaning that your boundaries are firmly in place by determining what your values and goals are and what's most important to you. Once you decide what your boundaries are, then you can more easily notice when they are being violated and when your definition of success is being challenged by another person. This process is not regression, it's refinement. And it's one of the most powerful forms of becoming there is. Sometimes the clearest way to rediscover your definition of success is simply to pause long enough to hear your own voice again. Thank you so much for spending time with me on Becoming Conversations in Elegance and Empowerment. If something in today's conversation spoke to you and deeper focused support feels right, I invite you to explore private coaching at becomingpublishing.com. Until next time, stay elegant, stay empowered.
Becoming the magnet.